Welcome to Real Estate in the Tri-State, where we talk about all things buying, selling, and investing in the Dubuque area. Featuring experienced locals giving you their real estate insight. My name is Abby Rottler, and here is your host, my husband, Rottler.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate in the Tri-State. Today is episode number 22, and the guest is undoubtedly the number one realtor in Dubuque and one of the best in all of eastern Iowa. When it comes to selling real estate in Dubuque, he is on a whole nother level. The GOAT, if you will. To put in perspective, for those that don't know him, since 2013, he has sold over 100 more houses than the next most by a realtor in our area. We are lucky enough to have him in the studio today after coming off one of his best years ever in 2020 because he met me. Just kidding. But seriously, an outstanding help to many realtors in the Dubuque office and buyers and sellers in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, the great and powerful Aaron Healey.
Wow, that was a great intro.
Yeah.
Anytime I have to speak, I'm going to bring you in to do the lead-in for me.
I did a little bit of homework. Had to kind of dig into some of those stats, but
we could do it like baseball. You could be the opener. I wonder if that'd work on like a listing appointment. Like I could send you in first and be like, I'm going to send in my opener, let you pump up the client, especially a competitive one, and then bring me in, and I'll just finish it from there.
Jeez.
We'll have to try that sometime.
That'd be insane. A two-person listing
I'm gonna
appointment.
let Rob start it off.
Reminds me of Step Brothers. You've seen that?
Yeah.
They go in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They go in for the interview together.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, Aaron. You want to start from the top? Let's go to the background. A little background on you, just so people can get to know you a little better.
All right. Small town boy. Grew up in Victor, Iowa. For those of you who don't know where Victor is, half an hour west of Iowa City. Williamsburg Outlet Mall area. That's where usually people can pinpoint where Victor is. Small family, mom, dad, sister. Came to Dubuque in 1997 to go to Loras College, the Loras College.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. Loras, I was a physical education major, sports management major. Thought I had my whole life mapped out. By my senior year of high school, knew what I wanted to do in college. Played football through javelin on the track team.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All-American javelin.
I was a spear chucker, yeah.
When did you do that all 4 years?
I did, yeah. My intent was when I came to college was to play baseball. Baseball was one of my loves growing up. And I missed most of my junior year of football in high school. And that just sparked a love for football, and I always felt like I had unfinished business in football. Came to Loras to do football and baseball, and we had a massive amount of freshmen on the football team and on the baseball team. I just never tried out. My sister was on the track team at Loras. I knew the coach as well, and they came to me and was like, hey, if you're not going to play baseball, why don't you come out and try throwing javelin? So it stuck. I loved it. We had fun with it, and it was awesome.
That's cool.
So, after Loras, I taught for a couple years, moved to Iowa City for 2 years, did a little bit of teaching, worked for my dad who owned a painting company, and then moved back to Dubuque in 2004 to get my master's. Again, thought I had it all mapped out when I get my master's. So I got my master's in sports management and worked at Loras as a graduate assistant for track. Got into admissions for Loras, and I was in admissions for 3 years then. 2008, I jumped into real estate. You could almost pinpoint the bubble burst nationally with when my real estate career took off. And I was naive. I probably had no idea what was going on nationally. I just reached a point at Loras where it was time for me to leave. I'd always had an interest in real estate, so I jumped in full go, leaving a salaried position with insurance to nothing.
Another big risk.
Yeah.
Big risker on the podcast.
Yeah, jumped in. Naive. I'll just go back, naive. But I was just determined to make it work. So, 13 years later, here I am. Married, 4 kids. Started off at Prudential Partners Realty. And that imploded about 2.5 years in. I was right in the middle of that. That's kind of a crazy story. And moved over to Ruhl Ruhl and could not be happier. So sitting here with you.
Let's rock. Yeah. Yeah, and we met, listeners, we met this year when I came over to Ruhl Ruhl. And yeah, so we've been talking a lot back and forth, and you've been super helpful and everything in the office. So so you knew it was time to leave at Loris, or it was getting ready for you to leave. Why did you choose real estate and not some other area of sales? Was it just the painting background with your dad? Like you kind of understood real estate a little better, or?
It's a great question. I had been investing already. So I bought my first house when I moved to Iowa City in 2002. My parents and my grandma had each helped my sister buy a house when she graduated, so they offered me the same thing. My plan was to go to grad school at Iowa. So I wanted to buy a house down there. I didn't want to pay rent, entrepreneur already at a young age.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will get renters. They can pay me rent. So
There
I
you
bought
go.
a house there, moved to Dubuque, bought another house, and then started investing. But looking back, I should have been able to target real estate is where I want to end up. I've always had a love for it. Thinking back to when I was in junior high, we had a family friend who lived in Cedar Rapids who was buying foreclosed houses, would fix them up and sell them on land contract, and most times get them back. And I remember him telling the story when I was in 7th grade. And I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. That's awesome.
Dang, so in 7th grade you were getting exposed to some investing and flipping and stuff.
Exactly. And my parents, very hard workers, great painters, on a great business. So I had access to a lot of houses. So I was in a lot of houses with them, just always had an interest in it. I remember they flipped a house kind of inadvertently. They're going to keep it as a rental in my hometown. Flipped a house when I was in high school. And I was like, wow, like you can do that? Like you can fix a house up and sell it. This was before flipping was cool.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to flip a house.
HGTV did it.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So it's one of those things I just always had this building interest. I remember driving by, I was out of high school. I remember driving by a house to and from college, to and from work, in the summers, this massive house outside of a small town. And I always think, God, I want to buy that house and fix it up. As an 18-year-old, it's like I had this desire to flip this house. Never did.
It was run down?
Yeah, it was just a big old rundown house. I'm like, that thing would be awesome in its prime. Fix it up, make money. So it was just something that was building. And then when I was at Loris, I started buying investment properties. Started with a partner. That ended pretty quickly. Started building a portfolio. So when 2008 rolled around, it was natural. I had purchased and sold a few houses. We'd flipped a few houses. And I just felt like that was a natural, next career for me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what I thought I knew about real estate, and made the jump. Just kind of both feet in.
Yeah, I remember I didn't even know what a realtor was. I didn't really know what a realtor was until maybe 6 months before I became a realtor. Like I was just
Really?
I was young. I had never bought a house. I just had never experienced one or been around one like you had, obviously before. But yeah, and then I remember thinking I knew quite a bit because I was going to study. That 6 months before I figured out what a realtor was, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I just was going to read everything. I was going to watch everything. I was going to be an expert before I even got my license. And it just doesn't work like that.
No, not quite.
No, not at all. And the other question that here, a little tangent, but it has to be addressed. I know the listeners are wanting to hear, why the heck did you go to Loris?
Oh, God. Here we go.
Normally he starts the banter, folks.
Yeah. I'm a lot older than you. I'm kind of your elder statesman
Older
here.
and wiser.
A lot older here. Rewind to 1996, 1997. I was exposed to Loris from my sister. My sister was a senior in high school when I was a freshman, so we're about 3.5, 4 years apart. She went to Loris. She was on the track team, so I'd come up a little bit and visit. When I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to play sports. I love sports. I want to play sports. I also knew I wanted to get away from home. So I looked at, the Iowa Conference, Division III, and I pinpointed I wanted a community that had it had more to do. Growing up in a small town, it's like you had a gas station. For a while, we had a grocery store, which is no longer. The closest pizza place was 10 minutes away. If you're going to go shopping, you're going half an hour, 45. So I wanted a community that had something to offer. And I wanted to get a little bit away from home. So I really targeted Loris being in Dubuque and narrowed it down to Loris and Co. Because with Co being in Cedar Rapids.
Co is kind of closer to home.
Yeah, Co's about an hour.
Yeah.
So, and Loris was having a great year in football.
Really?
That year. They had a good year. They won one of the better years they had. And I just always felt a connection there. And yeah.
With your sister going there, yeah.
Yeah.
It helps.
Comfort level.
Yeah.
It was tough, to be honest, turning Co down, because Co actually gave me more attention than Loris did. I think Loris, I was small. When I graduated high school, I was small town kid, not real big. So
and you played safety.
I did, yeah. I put on 40-ish, 45-ish pounds my freshman year.
Oh, jeez.
Mostly good. Mostly good.
We know how that goes. I literally was probably in a similar boat. Yeah. Yeah, I played football as a senior, probably 185. Actually, my senior year of track, which would have been the spring before at Wartburg, I probably weighed 175. And I played at like 205 as a freshman that fall. So like 30 pounds. There's no way. It was probably half and half. it probably wasn't all good.
I needed it though. I mean, I was in high school. I was 140s, 150.
Dang.
I mean, a freshman in high school, I think I was about $110, like 5'1", 5'2". I was small. I remember thinking, man, if I get to like 5'8", 5'9", like
that'll be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taller. I'm gonna be tall. And so no, I think the Loris coach is my sister was actually a trainer on the football team, and I think they just called me just because she was a trainer more than they wanted me to come there. So
yeah. But
it worked out. I loved it. I absolutely loved my experience. So
same.
Unfortunately, I will say, I think we beat Wartburg my freshman year. I was not on the travel team, so I never played in a game where we beat Wartburg. I beat him at javelin all the time. Does that count for anything?
There's probably a lot of Loris players who could say that.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Soccer, though. Men's soccer got it going on.
That's right. Yeah.
And women's soccer.
Loris has great athletics. And I'm going to say we. It's one of those things. We have great athletics going. And I stay in touch with a lot of the coaches. The athletic director at Loris, Denise, her brother and I were roommates for 3 years. So I've known her. She was my advisor in college throughout all my years, so I stay pretty connected with the school as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. So you got into real estate in 2008. How were you able to just take off?
I was determined to make it work, and it was daunting at first because, again, I was naive. I probably didn't even realize how daunting it was. Looking back, the market had just crashed. The timing was actually about perfect for me, though. So I was determined to make it work. So I approached it like a 40-hour-a-week job. I dove in. I tried to learn as much as I could from the people in the office, the surrounding people. It really worked out because of Loris, because of the contacts I made at Loris. My first 6, 7 transactions were people I worked with at Loris. That sphere of influence. Yeah. That I could almost go down the hallway from my office and like, this person bought and sold a house. This person bought and sold a house. This person bought a house. So it was those connections I had already made. It got things moving for me quickly. Because I'm not from Dubuque. So that's one thing. I'm trying to build a real estate career in a community that I didn't grow up in. I don't have high school friends. I don't have family friends. Basically, all I had at that point was the people I knew through Loris College. And my wife, Megan, is from Dubuque, doesn't have a massive close family here in town. So again, I didn't have that drawn. She actually has relatives that are in real estate world in Dubuque as well. So I don't want to say competing, but I wasn't automatically just going to get her family's business.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Looking back, the connections that I made at Loris were key. From there, I was always looking to do more than anybody else was doing. The first 2.5 years of Prudential, I was probably looking for that. I'm going to call it a gimmick. I think that's a mistake a lot of realtors make. They come in trying to find a gimmick. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, what can I do to get business that's nobody's doing? That's, I won't say gimmicky, but that's what it is. It's gimmicky.
This is such, so many things that you're saying reminding me of myself. Grew up in a small town. I came to Dubuque. My wife doesn't have any family here. I don't have any family here, or I didn't have any family or friends. And I started teaching, and I had to, when I jumped into real estate full time, those people that I taught with, that's the majority of people I knew. And then you also said something, looking for gimmicks, 2.5 years, you probably were looking around like, what's this, what's that, like shiny object syndrome almost.
Exactly.
That's exactly where I was. I was like, how am I going to make this work? There's got to be some way. I'm going to be more innovative. So I was doing research and, fit for sale by owners. That's a way that people get business. Expired listings, Zillow leads, billboards, newspaper. There's so many different ways people can go about it. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the shortcut almost.
Yeah.
It felt like for a long time.
Exactly.
Just kind of squandering.
And I think there's a lot of individuals that get in real estate that think the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to trick my way into getting business, and not to sound bad, but then moving over to Ruhl Ruhl the first year, and it was begrudgingly. It wasn't a happy marriage from word go, because we had a great thing at Prudential. We felt like we did. We had great office camaraderie. We had a close-knit office. We actually, as it was falling apart, there was a group of us that tried creating our own real estate company, our own Prudential, basically buying what the owner had and keeping it going. And frankly, luckily it fell apart.
Yeah.
And I came to Ruhl Ruhl because I felt like it was the best of no options. If that sounds makes sense at all.
Yeah.
It was just the best option for me, but I wasn't in love with any of my options at that point. I didn't want to leave Prudential. I didn't want it to fall apart. I wanted to keep the group we had there, keep the party going. And I came over to Ruhl, and it was incredible. Looking back, there's so many things that I would not be where I am today without Ruhl Ruhl. Mm-hmm. And I'm an extremely loyal person, and it's something I'll never forget, that I'll always cherish. And the biggest thing is, they start talking about Ninja, and start talking about Ninja. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is Ninja? Come on. Like, what? Talk about gimmicks. Like, what is this?
What's this gimmick?
What's this cult following? Because they're all talking about it. And Ryan Anglesey was talking about it. He's like, you really need to go to this. Jared Altoff was in the office then, and Jeff, and they're talking about it. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And it was like mind blowing. And it was like it flipped a switch. And I was lucky enough. My first Ninja was Larry.
Oh,
Larry Kent, the creator of Ninja. And this was well known. Like, this was going to be it. This is Larry's, he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And I just sat on the edge of my seat as he's telling these stories. And Larry's telling them firsthand. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't get enough, and it's just, and it's like, wow, you were so wrong. There isn't a gimmick. Mm-mm. It is so simple, and it was things that I was doing, some of the things I was doing already, real estate, Ninja, it's relationship building. Mm-hmm. Admissions at Loris was the exact same way. So I could take, and a lot of it I'd already been doing. I could take that, what I was doing at Loris is building these relationships and learning to build relationships in hopes these students would come to Loris. Now I'm just transitioning that to, I'm going to build these relationships and hope that when it's time for you to buy or sell a house, you use me. Mm. And that's the whole Ninja philosophy is forget the gimmicks. Forget trying to trick people. Just take care of the people that know and like you and trust you. So it's like, it was almost like this weight came off my shoulders. It's like, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's such a simple philosophy of I don't have to do all these gimmicky things. You know, it's like, just treat people the way you want to be treated, take good care of them, and they are going to build your business for you. They're going to refer you to their family, to their friends, to their coworkers. And that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's really good. I think just having a system means a lot too, because it gives you a sense of direction. Like when we talk about when I was looking for gimmicks, I was looking, how am I going to build my business? Oh, shiny object here, shiny object there. It leaves you thinking like, oh, what's next? Like, what could be the next best thing? How am I going to figure it out? How am I going to be ahead of the curve? And it just kind of, it doesn't feel as like you're on the path that you should be on to get to where you want to be.
absolutely.
And it's just an awesome system. There are some brokerages that have every single training video on every single topic ever. And there's 15 different options on how you can get business and 15 different ways how you can pursue those 15 options. I'm going to get lost in all that. Like I just give me one and let me focus on it type of thing. That's kind of how I operate. And that's why I really why I really love Ruhl and the systems that we have.
Yeah. You know, it's in thinking about it, the ninja system as well. It reminds me of my golf game.
Here we go.
I've taken lessons, and as I start to struggle, I revert back to those lessons. You know, it's like, all right, now what do they let's get back to the basics here. And the same thing with real estate. Like when you start to struggle, you start to stray, you know, it's like, okay, let's get back to ninja. Let's get back to the basics. You know, if things start to dip, if you start to slow, for whatever reason, you get away from it, it can pull you back in to, like you said, a direction that's going to keep you on course.
Yeah. And for the listeners who might not know what ninja is, how would you sum it up in like a sentence or two or three? It's kind of hard. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, I would say it's a philosophy. You know, the biggest thing, it's a philosophy. First and foremost, it's a philosophy. It's something that's taught in a seminar, but it's a philosophy, and it's, I guess, a system in itself of how to approach real estate. And it doesn't have to be real estate, but it's catered to real estate. But it's these different steps, and it's very simple. You know, it is. It's very simple, and it deals a lot with keeping in touch with your people, your clients, treating them the way you want to be treated.
Yeah. And so when you start to stray, you get off course a little bit, you go back to the basics. When do you start to stray? How's that even a thing? Most house sales since 2013 by over 100.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it does. It's the biggest thing with real estate. It's very easy to get caught up in the work. You know, the actual work itself, doing the deals, the transactions. You know, so there'll be times when I'm like, all right, I stopped doing X, and I can feel it. You know, sometimes it could be something as simple as someone who you felt like should have worked with you. All of a sudden you see their name on a transaction with somebody else. That's a pretty big wake up call. Yeah. You know, so you look back and be like, wow, you know, I hadn't talked to that person in 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years.
First of all, I just want to pause you right there. Sorry for interrupting. The ownership there is huge. Like you're not looking at that person like, oh, screw that person. They should have worked with me. You're thinking, where did I drop the ball? That's huge. Like if listeners take one thing away from this podcast, like take that away. Just like if you're not getting what you want or what you think you should have gotten, look in the mirror a little bit and figure out, okay, what is it that I could have done better to get this person, to be working with me? I like it.
And I'm ultra competitive. If you haven't figured that out yet in a few months.
Like Mike Jordan.
I am a little bit committed. So sometimes those things give me an edge. Something like that drives me. It's like, all right, I'm not going to let this happen again. And it'll happen again. It will. Yeah. But it's going to drive me. It's going to motivate me. If all of a sudden something goes wrong or something goes, not the way I had planned, somebody doesn't use me for whatever reason, those are the things I use to motivate myself to keep it going. Sometimes, a bad deal or losing a client is what I need to light that fire, to drive me even more.
Yeah. And that's really good too, because I mean, a lot of folks, and I don't know if I've experienced this yet. If you see that name where you're like, oh, I should have listed that house. A lot of folks and potentially, I've never experienced it, like I said, could get really down on themselves and like, I'm not good enough, or they didn't think I was good enough, or I'm not a good realtor, this isn't for me, that type of thing. But for you, it's just like, let's go. Next one.
And everyone after that, right?
Yeah.
Ninja has a philosophy that you don't need them all.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough to go around. And I do believe that. At the same time, I'd like an opportunity at them all.
Yeah.
Not that I can handle that or anybody can handle that, but just give me a shot. That's a lot of times what I ask. Just give me a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. And I do there's definitely enough to go around. It's easy to sit and think like, oh, look at this person, they're doing all this business, at least from my shoes. But there's enough to go around. There's an abundance of deals out there. Absolutely. So what would you say is the biggest difference between Aaron Healey of January 8th, 2021 versus Aaron Healey of May 2008?
Besides the gray hair and 4 kids, as a realtor, real estate is a learn by doing business. So the mistakes I've made, the knowledge I've gained, you can't just step into that. You can't study that, and I think that's what you're probably learning is sometimes you got to fake it until you make it,
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't know, I'm going to go find it.
Mm-hmm.
So the knowledge base I have now, I can't put a value on that. And it's changed the way I do business. It's changed the way I approach, my day. It changes the way I approach transactions. It's changed everything. I was in 2008, I was that extremely hungry, a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to take everything and anything. And I don't want to say desperate to get a deal done, but you just hang on every deal. Your next meal depends on it.
Yeah.
And at the point where you can stop doing that, you actually become a lot better realtor, because then all you have in mind is the best interest for your clients. That not that you don't want that paycheck, not that you don't need it, but your next meal necessarily doesn't depend on it. So you become, I would say, less desperate, but you focus on what's best.
Yeah, more of a freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if this deal falls apart because that's the right thing to do, or that's the right thing that's the way it should go, and I don't get paid because of it, even though I spent 20 hours on the deal, that's okay, because my next meal isn't dependent on it. I'm way open now to those possibilities and just doing what's right and what's best for the client. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was about a year ago, probably a little bit more than a year ago, I actually turned down a listing, and it felt...
How'd that feel?
Oh, amazing.
Feel
it did.
alive.
And it's one of those things you walk in and it just didn't go well. There was no connection, and it wasn't a relationship that I was going to enjoy being in at all. And that's what real estate is with your buyers and your sellers. There's a strong relationship there. And I'll talk more about that here in a little bit, but it wasn't good from the minute I stepped in to the house. And I got done, and I just told her, and I said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I can do the job you're looking to do. And I was pretty blunt, and I said, what I'm going to need you to do as a seller, I don't feel you're going to be able to do for me. And she was floored.
That's crazy. Yeah, because they probably felt like they kind of have it in, like the ball's in their court. It's up to them. Like you're trying to earn their business type of thing.
Yeah, realtors don't, her philosophy was realtors, you don't turn down business. Like you're going to say no. And we had great conversations about it. But so then she called me several times after, and she's like, would you take the listing at this price? I said, I'm sorry, but I won't. And would you, if I do this and this, would you take the listing at this price? And I said, sorry, I don't. But here's my free advice to you. Do these things. I think you absolutely need to do these things. The irony of this is she had interviewed another realtor, and the other realtor had called me. She knew we were both interviewing. And she's like, oh, I think I'm just going to tell her to go with you. And I said, I don't want it. You have it.
That's funny.
So we actually talked about it. So this seller goes with the other realtor. And I told the other realtor exactly. I said, I don't think it sells $1 over, I'll throw the numbers out, 410.
Yeah.
And I was the second realtor in there. She already had it listed. And she wanted a 475, 465. And so I told this other realtor, I said, I don't think she'll ever list there, but honestly, I don't think it's going to sell $1 over 410. And I think you need to be listed down there to get there. And I think there's going to be a lot of issues on the home inspection. And there was just a lot going on there. And it was a really abrasive seller. The other realtor, and God bless her soul, she took the listing and eventually got it sold, and it sold below 400,000. And I was never so happy to not be involved. And the irony is that seller kept calling me.
Really?
When she had
Throughout
listed,
the process?
yeah, just update me on what's going on. And hey, I put in new carpet, and it's like, oh, great, good luck. So yeah, I mean, that's something. In 2008, I would have been right in there miserable until it sold.
Yeah.
Button heads and just regretting every minute.
Yeah. That is awesome to walk away from something like that. That's just got to be an empowering thing.
It was. It really was.
You just know that your time and your sanity is better off elsewhere.
And it was the best thing for the seller and for me. And it worked out for both of us. Mm-hmm. Could I have sold that house? Absolutely. But we would have fought our way every inch to get to where we need to be.
That's pretty awesome. So, you really have listed a ton of property and sold a ton of property. And I know through past conversations that you'd like to focus on listings. And I think, in my own research of real estate and how to approach it, I think focusing on listings is the way to go. Do you want to just talk briefly about why you focus on listings and why, why you think that's probably something that most realtors should focus more on?
Sure. Yeah. I've always enjoyed the listing process. And it's not hard to understand. I'm a control freak. I like to control what I can control. And the listing process is very controlled. And it's something I've always looked to refine and look to improve and look to change through my experiences. And it's something that you can generally control each step of the way. Doesn't always mean once it's on the market, once it's listed, you can control everything, but it is a very controlled system. The buying process is not. The buying process, you have to be much more at the mercy of the market and much more at the mercy of the buyer and schedules. And it's not that I don't enjoy it, but it's a different process. So for me, I have always gravitated towards that listing of, okay, I can do all of these things to prepare for that listing to hit the market. I'm going to do all of these things that are going to help the seller, that are going to help me. And once it hits the market, then I'm going to do these next steps and these next steps and these next steps, all the way to the point of we get an offer, we're under contract, we're closed, and now, they're out of the house. Everything is done. The buying process, especially when you're in a hot market, is almost like being on call.
Yeah.
And in the market we're in now, and the market we've been in, that's the way you have to approach it, especially if you're looking for something in a price range that there's 30 or 40 other people looking in.
And there's 2 or 3 other listings, only 2 or 3 listings in a certain price range.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So it's sometimes who gets there first. Sometimes, it's best terms. And sometimes it's the schedule of the buyer. A buyer might not be able to get out and see a house and it's sold before you ever get there. So there is a lot of things I like about that process, but I have just always gravitated towards that listing process.
You're more able to control the process and take control of your day and how you run it. What would be if you were going to make a day in the life of Aaron Healey video, which I think you should. I I think it'd be really cool, Amanda or Adam or somebody video a day in the life of Aaron Healey. What would that look like?
Wow. I don't know. Where do you start? I am start my day on fire kind of guy. So I hit the ground running, early. I don't hang out at home real long. So I get up and dressed, coffee, and out the door. From there, it just kind of depends on what's going on. A lot of times I'll make a stop, but I'm an office guy, much like yourself, which I love. So I'm an office guy. I feed off of the energy around me. I like the interaction. So I spend a lot of time in the office, and then I am not set on a schedule. So it's not, 8 to 9, I'm going to check emails, or, 9 to 10, I'm going to do this, 10 to 11, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So I just know what I have to do for that day, and I try to get into it. And then the phone starts ringing and the emails start flying. And there's days where what I got to get done doesn't get done. But every day is different. It's one of the things I love about real estate.
Yeah, something new every day.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And there'll be times where I'll sit in the office and I'll be there for 6 hours like, wow, I did not leave the office all day. And I don't always love that. So there's days where I'll get up and I'll go out and check on listings, or go out to the subdivision and drive through and just see, make sure everything looks good. And, maybe I'd go check on a rental, or, just to get up and
you'll do that before you get to the office?
Yeah. I do that a lot of the times on the way in and then throughout the day. I mean, there'll be days where I'll be in and out of the office 5-6 times just as needed.
Wow.
So
how do you, if you're going to show a house, or if you're going to take appointments, when would be the ideal time? Say a buyer or seller's like, Aaron, why don't you pick the time whenever you want? When are you going to go?
During the day.
Yeah.
I will go anytime if I can. Mm-hmm. But the easiest thing for me and the best is during the day. It's the difference of, again, that 2008 Aaron Healey and 2021, because it's a constant struggle that we talk about it, that work-life balance.
Yes.
Of, I want to see my kids. I want to be at home just as much as anybody else does. And I've been working, all day. And so if I could control it, the showings would be in the day. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that doesn't happen. There's a lot of nights, there's a lot of weekends, and that's fine. That's great. I knew what I signed up for. I know what the industry demands, and some of those sacrifices you have to make for your clients, because otherwise they might miss out on a house, or they'll just go on to another realtor that is able to, cater to their schedule.
Yeah.
So, but as much as I can do during the day, I try to do as much as I can during the day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something about being in the office too. And when I was at American, I was still teaching full time, but I had breaks and I had summer off, and I'd go into the office sometimes. But at Ruhl, it's just different that everyone's in the office. Most everyone is in the office that is, actively trying to do business and grow their business, that type of thing. And there's an energy to it, and you can have conversations, and it's almost like when I'm there, I'm more locked in to work than when I'm at home. Because when I'm at home, sometimes it's personal stuff, sometimes it's family stuff, sometimes it's work at home. But at work, it's try to focus on work, and I feel like there's something to be said about the setting and like the consistency of the office.
I feed off of other people as well. One of the things I enjoy most is just walking around the office, asking agents, what do you have going? What do you got going? What do you got coming? What are your buyers looking for? And it might trigger something with me. It's like, oh, I might have something for you. I might have, just this morning, I was talking to, I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to give him the credit of being, giving them a shout out on here, but this pizza guy that I know, and, we were talking, and something he said triggered is like, I might have something for you. I might have something for you. And that's something that you can't do if you're not in the office, in my opinion. It'd be really hard for you to call other agents and be like, okay, what you got going? all the time. But it's really easy for me to, next door, Carl and Ryan, across to Harry, Tina, people that you're seeing in the office all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I love is just sometimes you get out of your desk and go around and be like, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah. Talking with other realtors I always get value out of it. And when I came to Ruhl, it's interesting. I had this set up here behind all the equipment. I had a desk there. It was like a brand new desk. I had a brand new bookcase and a brand new, like a shelving unit behind it that Abby's, my wife's aunt was giving it away, and we took it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I got an at-home office. I'm a full-time realtor. I can work at home all the time. It's great. And I get in the office, and Jeff is like, yeah, you should come into the office. I was like, yeah, how often? Every day you should come in. I'm like, huh. I said, Jeff, I got a nice little office set up at home. I even have a printer, prints color, double-sided.
Big time.
I was like, I can work from home, right? He's like, you probably wouldn't come to the office. So I took his word for it, and love it. Yeah, it's great.
And I hope you've realized this since you've been there, but I'm an open book, and my door is always open. Real estate is not always this way, but I enjoy seeing success in other realtors. So I have no problem giving away all my secrets, any tips and tricks that I have. So I like when realtors, so there's times when, teaching is the best way to learn, and talking through it with another agent is helping me as well. Yeah. But that's that atmosphere in the office and that camaraderie that we have in that office environment that it's great. It really is. And we have a fantastic office environment.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. And I too like to teach people and help people and guide people when I can. I feel like it's meaningful stuff. But I also am competitive, kind of like you. So it's like it's interesting. How do you get to a point where you're competitive, you're working your ass off, and then you're also willing to share these everything you know?
It's a belief that I'm still going to do it better than you. It's and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But we've talked about this weekly. There's certain things that I do. Listings has always been my thing, and there's certain things that I do from all my listings, and it's all out there. Real estate is public. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. So I do it. Copy who's doing the best. Yeah. Who is, and there's no title for the best realtor. You're never going to know who it actually is. Who you think's doing the best, copy it. So people can see what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. It's no secret. If you want to try and do it, great. It makes the industry better, in my thought. The more everybody's willing to do for your clients, but are you really willing to do it is the question. And I'm willing to help people do it. Yeah. I remember when I was at Prudential, I created this market report, and I called it my biweekly update. And I had to pull all this stuff and create this thing. And I worked with quite a few realtors that were older. I was not techie, but I was more techie than they were. So I did it for quite a few of them. By the time that Prudential imploded, I think I was doing 5 or 6 of them. My template, my information as far as content, their name and contact information. And I would just do it for them and give it to them, and they'd send it out to their people. Wow. And I didn't fear the competition. I didn't fear that they were all of a sudden going to steal my clients or be better than me. But there's this belief that, okay, I'm doing all these things. I will give you any of them. I just know that I'm going to be willing to do them and do them 100%. Yeah. And
I think that's awesome. That's freaking awesome. It's just like a trust in yourself. You're going to put in the work. You're going to put in the time. And it's no secret. That's freaking sweet. Okay. What do you advise? What is your best advice to a seller who's going to work with a realtor? Maybe they're thinking about listing their home this spring or something like that. What's your best advice to the seller as far as like keeping a positive communication and what they need to do and what they should expect to do to really sell for top dollar?
There's a lot that goes into. Number one, first and foremost, is you need to have an open line of communication with your realtor. And you need to have a realtor that you trust and have a good relationship with. If there's not a trust factor there, it's going to be a rocky road. Then it depends on the philosophies of that realtor. And the situation of that seller. Every situation is different. Are they selling and buying? Do they have to sell to buy? Are they leaving town? Are they moving down? Are they moving up? Is it a house that's what we call cream puff that doesn't need anything done? Or is it a hoarder's house that needs, 5 storage units and 6 dumpsters? So there's so much that goes into it, but that's when a seller needs to rely on their realtor. And realtors, this is their profession. I hire professionals to do certain jobs, and I feel like real estate is one of those that a professional can do it best. So if I'm a seller, I am going to lean on my realtor, and I'm going to tell them, don't sugarcoat it. Be honest with me. And even as a realtor, I don't want I listed a house this morning, and I told the seller, I want honest feedback from realtors. I don't want them to tell me how amazing my listing is, how much their buyers loved it, even though they have no interest in ever making an offer.
Yeah.
I want feedback that's constructive, and that seller should ask for the same. So as a seller, you don't want an agent to come in and be like, "Oh, your house is perfect."
Just tell you everything you want to hear.
What you want to hear. Your house is perfect. Don't touch a thing. Then they walk out and they tell their fellow agents, like, this house is a disaster.
Yeah.
It smells like dog. There's clutter everywhere. Just be upfront. You don't have to be rude about it. But as a seller, you want to hear honest feedback, because ultimately that's going to make the process easier for you. Then you just got to figure out what's best for you as a seller. Timing, price, contingencies. There's so much that goes into it that people don't even realize. Everybody fixates on price. But there's so many different steps and items that go into a sale of a property that sometimes you don't even think about.
Have you ever had to tell someone who just painted all their walls that they should get a paint job?
I have. And, sometimes you just, hey, I love it. I love fuchsia.
Yeah.
But the general public, we try to stay neutral.
Yeah.
And some people will just say, no, I'm not touching it. And it is what it is at that point.
Yeah. What else for sellers?
I think the big draw and the big attraction to anybody, and I get it, I was there before, is FSBO. Do you sell it by yourself? Anybody can sell a house, right?
Yeah. Anybody can.
Anybody can sell a house.
What could go wrong?
How long do you have? There are people that can definitely do it by themselves. I'm not saying that. And I get it. I get it. They want to avoid commissions, but here's a perfect example. The subdivision I live in had a house this year that was listed and sold the first day, and then listed for $385. And had multiple offers, and I think they sold a little bit over asking, and those sellers were thrilled. Great for them. I looked at that house and I said, you just left $40,000, $45,000, $50,000 on the table to avoid what percent commission? And I'm sure that's what the list for sale by owner, that's probably what they're trying to avoid. They didn't know the market.
Yeah.
They'd been in the house for enough years. The house had appreciated. I don't know what they put in to negotiate. All I know is what it sold for. So I don't know if they have to make repairs, what they had to do. But I know the neighborhood, I know the house well enough that if I was listing that house, I was listing it for probably $40,000 to $50,000 more, and pretty confident I could have sold it for that.
Wow.
Then there's disclosure issues. Are you disclosing everything you need to as a seller to protect you so that you are never going to get that call from a buyer or a buyer's attorney saying, you didn't tell me this, so you owe me money. There's details with understanding financing and how contingencies work. There's just a lot to know. On top of, if you're a seller selling it by yourself, are you available? Are you available to show it? The more people you get through your front door, the better chance you have at selling your house at the highest price and the best terms. Are you available? And buyers are fickle. If you say no to a buyer once, they are gone. You might never get them through your house again. They'll just move on. I have buyers that are that way. As a listing agent, if we have to say no to a showing, we try to reschedule it as soon as possible, because that buyer will hold that against you, and they'll be on to the next listing before you even hit the send button.
Yeah, I totally agree. And especially if I'm requesting a showing as a buyer agent and I get rejected of the showing and I don't hear back from the listing agent, or I don't hear like, oh, hey, sorry, that time didn't work, but here's another time that does work. If I don't hear that, it's like, what? Come on.
Exactly.
I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do something that, it's helpful for my client, but it's also helpful for you and your client. We want to get in there.
You cast it aside.
Yeah, but for sale by owner, like every single seller has to be at their show. Like they have to be there.
Yeah.
If you work a 9 to 5 and you have 4 showings during the day, how are you going to do that? Something to think about. It's probably a lot of like people don't know what they don't know about the process.
You nailed it. That's exactly right. And again, there are situations where it could be a very good option. You have the right seller, you have the right buyer, and it all works out great. But what if it doesn't? What did you just save? Or what did you just lose?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And aside, the opportunity costs that you could be losing money for, you might have sold for more if more people got their eyes on it. Speaking of which, I know you feel strongly about this. Like for sale by owners, some of these companies now, they're doing a good job of marketing these properties. And I know you're very particular about your marketing and all the extra efforts that you put in. And then some of the industry maybe is not even doing what these for sale by owner companies are doing, and that's hurting our industry.
I would agree with that.
That's tough.
It is tough. Real estate is, we're all self-employed. Mm-hmm. And some agencies, some companies have a minimum standard. Most don't. So realtors are really calling the shots on their own. So how they help a client, how they represent a seller, how they represent a buyer, within the real estate law is up to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm very proud of our industry. I want us to have a very solid, respectable industry, and not only myself, but everybody represent your clients well. And my belief is if you're not doing at least what the for sale by owner company is doing, why should they go with you? Why should they use you? If they can walk in the for sale by owner door and they're doing X, Y, Z, and you're only doing X, it's no wonder they're not going to choose to use you.
Yeah.
So that's minimum standard.
Yeah, definitely. And we could go on forever on this, but it's also, there's something to be said about like when you have a listing that's coming up and we go into our Tuesday meetings, like there's something to be said about a group of 20 realtors around and talking about the upcoming listings and walking through the upcoming listings. And like all of us are looking out for our buyers. And, maybe it's like one of those hot price ranges. Like you're not going to get that either.
There's so much value in that network, in my network. That's the thing. You hire me as a listing agent. You just hired my entire network, my entire database of all my contacts now become, open to you. And I'm going to, and that's one of the first things that I do. If I'm going to list a house, who do I know that might fit for your house? We talk a matchmaker.
Yep.
If I have a listing, it's who is looking that would fit for this. And now on top of mine, you also have a great office that works together. One of the first things that I do as soon as I list a property is we tour it as an office on Tuesdays. And I can't tell you how many times I've sold it straight out of our tour.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden an agent says, hey, I've got somebody. When can we get in? And at that point, you're doing something that, selling it on your own, you can't do.
No.
You don't have that.
Can't do it. You also opened me up. I never even realized it. But we were putting a deal together, and we were close. We were really close, counting back and forth, you and I, and it came down to patching some holes in the roof or cleaning something out of the dryer, something like that. I can't even remember. And that was the difference. And I remember this. I'll never forget it. You were like, just go for it or sign it. We'll take it. I'll get it fixed myself. I was like, what? Like, you're going to fix it yourself? The seller's not going to fix it? And you're like, yeah, I'll fix it. Not a big deal. And that was the first time I'd ever worked with another agent where they were like, I'll take care of something for my client to keep, to help. It's going to help them. It's going to help the buyer. It'll make the deal go through. And it's, I never even thought about it, but it's just a little thing here. It's just a little way that you can add value to your client. I was like, damn, that really opened my eyes.
That's another takeaway from Larry, really. I remember when I was at Ninja and he talked about, he was talking about after the transaction. And he was talking about what you do, call after, Aaron, my faucet's dripping.
Yeah.
And no problem. I'll take care of it. I'll send a plumber over there. Aaron, this light's not, I'll get an electrician over there for you. Something like that could go a long ways and just taking care of your clients. And I'm not going to let something so small stand in the way of something so big.
Yeah.
And it's not something so big for me. It's something so big for other people that at times they can't get out of their own way. There's a lot of emotions that go into transactions, buying and selling, and people will dig their heels in sometimes for items that are so small in the grand scheme of things. And it means a lot to them when I can just say, hey, I'll just take care of this for you because I know in your best interest, it's best to move on and let's get to the next step.
That is just, I cannot even imagine how many referrals you've gotten from doing something like that. Like, imagine they move on, they sell their house, they move on. The next day they're at coffee with their family or something. They ask about, how the process was. They're going to say that like right away. They're going to say, Aaron Healey was my realtor and there was a problem with this or that and he took care of it and he paid for it. It was amazing. Sold for above asking price.
I hope.
They're all saying it. It's like they're going to be your raving fan forever because you stepped in and did this little thing.
And that comes back to the Ninja philosophy of just taking care of your people.
Yeah.
Take care of those that have already trusted you enough. Do good by them.
Yeah. So then flipping the coin, what would be your best advice to a buyer going into this? Well, we're going to talk about the current market, but I don't know, a lot of this might overlap. What would be your best advice to a buyer that's going to work with a realtor to buy?
I'll stay away from the current market because I know we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
It's very similar to what I recommend as, from a seller agent relationship. Again, with the buyer, connect with your agent. Connect with your agent, build that relationship, be upfront with them. Try to talk through, as Ninja, we talk about the whys. A lot of times we talk about what. I want 3 bedrooms. I want this. I want this. I want this. But why do you want that? Because there's going to be times where it might not fit into your exact box, but if you know the why, it might still work. Why do you want 4 bedrooms? Well, I want to turn one of them into an office.
Yep.
Oh, well, there's this great dining room office space. Then it's a 3-bedroom, but you don't need 4 bedrooms. You want 3 bedrooms in an office. Something as simple as that. Talk through what you're open to. A lot of times you'll hear people say, I can't stand split foyers. I can't stand, show me no split foyers. And you know what you're closing on in 3 months with those clients? A split foyer.
This is the best. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was just going to go into this same story with this house. Like we're currently, folks, if you're looking on screen, we are in a split foyer basement right now. And here's the deal. When I started looking with me and my wife, we were looking to buy a house. We were renting downtown Dubuque. We laid out what we wanted and why we wanted it. And my wife says, okay, Rob, here's my biggest rule. No split foyers. I was like, all right, fine. I'm all right. Let's go for it. I kept my eyes open, right? I, study the market anyways as a realtor. We missed out on a couple, but we ended up on a split foyer. We live in a split foyer currently, and it crossed off everything we needed. We needed a fenced-in backyard for the dogs. We needed 3 bedrooms for master, guest bedroom, and an office. We wanted a big open space. We wanted some bigger kitchen area. Like it just crossed everything off except it was a split foyer. And guess what? We freaking love our house. It's perfect for us right now.
There's times where I might overstep. I might be too pushy.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me A, B, and C, but it matches up with 1, 2, 3 over here.
Yeah.
I'm going to politely suggest and push that we take a look at this.
Yeah.
And if somebody says no, that's fine. But the better that relationship, and an agent can understand everything from what's your schedule? When do you want to look at houses? When are you free? When are you available? Who needs to be there? If your dad is going to be the deciding factor in this house, your dad needs to be at all the showings.
That's really good.
It's, you run into this in real estate. A lot of times we say the parents are the kiss of death.
Oh,
Because what happens is you show, their angel,
yeah,
their firstborn child,
yep,
who they would die for.
Yep.
You show them 20 houses and you show them the stuff that just isn't great.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up at the best of the options, and you're jacked. You're like, we're there. We're finally there. And then dad walks in and absolutely kills the house.
Disaster.
Because he hasn't seen the 18, 19 other ones,
yep,
that are not even equal to this one.
Yep.
But again, that's one of those things of who's the deciding factor here. If dad needs to see it, dad needs to be here.
Right.
Or whatever that relationship is.
I was doing this exact thing, showing a house, and it was in my neighborhood, actually. So I keep up to date, obviously, with any new listings in the area. I feel like I know this neighborhood, the market in my neighborhood, better than anywhere in Dubuque. And I'm a realtor. I'm a full-time realtor. And the dad comes in, oh, this house is nowhere near worth this. It can't be worth this. It was a great house. It was priced well. It was going to sell quickly, and it ended up selling quickly and for real close to asking price. But the dad came in.
You were not going to tell dad any different, though.
I know. Is that because last time he bought a house, it was worth $40,000 less or something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the way I feel like that's the way they see it.
That's a struggle. And
That's
there's
tough.
times where I should probably bite my tongue.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Well.
And sometimes it's a battle of, like you said, you have somebody who is not up to date on the market, and they're just trying to look out for the best interest of their, whoever their loved one is.
Yeah.
It could be your buddy at work.
I can't wait till Grayson buys his first house. You are going to be.
We're looking.
Yeah.
Start them early.
Yeah, there you go.
Start them early. But it's that relationship with your buyer and knowing, as an agent, again, knowing, is this a buyer who wants a $400,000 house for $200,000? Like, does the house they want exist? Rob, I want you to find me 7 acres and a 6-car garage, close to town, but outside of town. But really, I want to stay under about 250.
You're going to have a tough time.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just setting expectations.
Yeah. And that comes with experience. You can't be, it just comes with experience and market knowledge. Like, I feel I'm, working with some buyers like, hey, here's the deal. With your price range, you're probably not going to get the master bedroom that's 20 by 20 feet. Like, it's just not there. You can see here, if you need to bring up the numbers, but it's just not very likely. And that's something that I get more courage, and I'm, as I do it more, I'm more experienced. And so like, also like all your experience, you've sold, how many hundreds of houses have you sold? Is there any two the same?
Are any two the same? Yeah, ish. No. The answer to that's no. There's no such thing as two the same.
When I saw the number on our MLS, it was like 330 something, but that's no, it was more than that.
I think I'm around 1,000 transactions.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Years. I'm around there.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly, but it's around there.
That's nuts. That is so many.
We've done okay.
You're like, you know the process like the back of your hand.
There's, again, it's with each one, you learn a little bit more.
Crazy that you still do. What do you like? What are some things now, after all this experience, all those transactions, where you are confident as heck telling it to somebody? You don't have to pull up the market. You don't have to pull up stats or anything like that. You're just like, this is how it is. I know this. What are some of those things that you like really feel strongly about, and you know now that you never did as when you were starting out, where, you know, you might have had a buyer who was looking at something out of their price range, and they would never have been able to find something?
There are difficult conversations that you have to have as a realtor with your clients. And that's one of the things that agents struggle with. And you see it a lot through negotiations, you know, and you talk about things, it gets easier a little bit, but it's still tough. You know, so one of the things is in good markets, you know, it's that buyer that walks in and wants to offer, I'm just going to say low, and the house has been on the market 2 days. You know, having that conversation of, you're not going to get this house. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not going to give it to you at 85% of asking price when we're counting hours on the market instead of days on the market.
That's so good. Yeah.
You know, things like that. Or you're a subject to sale and it's a new listing. You're a subject to sale. And this is a house. This house is going to sell, and it's probably going to sell over asking. And they look at you like you're crazy. Like, people don't pay asking, let alone over asking.
Yeah.
You know, so being confident in that, in knowing the market, of being able to say to, a lot of times it's buyers.
Yeah.
You know, it's buyers that a buyer will twist a situation or create a situation that favors them that isn't always realistic. Well, let's just try. How many times have we heard that? Let's just try. Maybe these people will give me $50,000 off their third day on the market because they have to be somewhere in like 30 days and they have to sell this like right now, and they need the money. It's like all these situations that the could-be's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think just being able to say it, and you probably are way better at it now than you were, and you're way better than I am, just like, you know, that offer's not going to get it done. You know, if that's what you want to offer, it's not going to get it done.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to say, and it is a lot of times, you know, it's the truth, and you need to. It
is, and the balance is knowing that you're working for them.
Yeah.
And you just have to say it, say, ultimately, when we're done with this, these are conversations that we're having behind closed doors. We're working together. I'm working for you. So I'm telling you this because I want you to get the house. You know, I want you to get the best deal on the house.
Yeah.
You know, but sometimes, do you want a good deal or you want a good house? Because they don't go hand in hand very often.
Yeah, not very often at all.
Great deal, great house doesn't go, you know, it's not something that is synonymous with each other in real estate.
That is so simple. I'm going to adopt that. I'm going to start saying that.
You can have it.
Yes.
Open book. It's all yours.
Let's go. Yeah. That's mine
as long
now.
as I get to keep using it. But yeah, having those conversations with your people of, I'm here for, and at the end of this conversation, if you still tell me that you want to offer that, that's what we're offering. Because you're in charge. This is your money.
Yeah.
I promise you, I'm not living in that house.
Yeah.
That's a house that you're going to live in. You know, that, or you're going to have to be okay with losing it, which sometimes is what can snap them back to reality of, well, I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose it. Well, this is a scenario where you could lose your opportunity at this house.
Yeah. Sometimes you only get one shot.
Yeah. And it's an emotional process. And I've seen it where you get on the wrong side of a seller's emotions, and you're either going to cost yourself money or you're going to cost yourself the chance of even buying that house. I mean, I've had sellers say, I'm not selling to them anymore. They offended me. That's offensive. That offer is offensive. I'm not going to sell it to them. And you have to talk them off the ledge. But that's, properties are emotional. It's where they bring their kids home to. It's where they, walked over the threshold when they were first married. It's
part of the game is like being able to handle the emotions and to be able to, like take your client's emotions and really bring them back to reality if you need to, if that's something that
that's the goal. I mean, if every person could approach it like a business decision, it would be easier, but that's not realistic because it's emotional. This is their lives. It's their livelihoods.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal. What about for sellers talking, do you ever have sellers who are like, I know it's the 5th day on market or whatever, but I just think there might be more people coming through in a week or 2 or 3. Like, I know your listing process is very geared towards optimizing the days on market, optimizing when the most traffic is going to be walking through. And some people don't realize that. Some people think if it's on market for a month, there's going to be more people looking at it than if it's on market for a week.
Yeah, the market's going to tell you how you sit as a listing and as a seller. And there are variables that play into that. I mean, look what we're coming out of with COVID and the last how many months.
Yeah.
But every day you get away from your listing date as a seller, you lose leverage or perceived leverage. Because your situation might not change, but every buyer is going to sit there and go, well, they've been there for a month and it hasn't sold. So
Something's
now I
wrong
can
with
get it for this.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there 3 months and it hasn't sold. They must be desperate. And that might not be reality, but again, it might be perceived leverage. So a seller, the closer you can get that offer and the more people you can get through the door early in the process, the better chances you have to achieve your goals, to maintain some of that leverage and create urgency with buyers and, get to where you want to be. The further you get from that, it's a stressful process. Having your house for sale, especially if you're living in it, is not fun. Any part of it's not fun. Every realtor should have to sell their house like every 2 to 3 years just to remember how much it sucks.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I have a very set listing process, and there are external factors, holidays, time of year, global pandemics.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't always have control.
Deratios, there's things that will, but those are the exceptions. Those are not the rules. The rule is the closer you can get an offer to your listing date and time, the better situation you're going to put yourself in.
What about, last thing before we get into current market, where we're at currently, but what about on a listing? Say you walk through a house and, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think your market value is right around $200,000. And I know your priority is to sell it quickly and for top dollar. What would you, and if the seller asks you, where should we price this? If you think market value is right around $200,000, what's your advice to a seller?
Price it at your market value. Price it right. Price it. Do not price cushion in. You cannot negotiate offers you don't have. So a big philosophy is I can go down, I can't go up. How many times have you heard that?
So many.
I can go down, I can't go up. Yeah, you can go down, and then you can go down again, and you can go down again. And that's not a philosophy that I want to approach a listing at. So if you price it accurately, the goal is to find a buyer that's going to step in and fall in love with your house. Once they fall in love with it, they're done.
Yeah.
I know I'm that way. If I fall in love with a property, I can't stop thinking about it until I own it. And that's your goal as a seller. Now, if the buyer walks in and they think your property is overpriced, they're going to exaggerate it in their favor. You might have missed the market by $5,000. In their mind, it's $20,000. It's like walking in and saying, this carpet's shot. This is going to cost us $10,000 to put all. No, it's not. It's going to cost you $2,000.
Yeah.
But it's more favorable to you as a buyer if you think it's 10 and if they think it's 10. So as a seller, if you can nail your listing price, then you have a better chance of somebody falling in love with it. You have a better chance of two people falling in love with it. The ultimate goal always as listing agent is to get two parties competing. Changes the game completely. Your terms get better, the price goes up, the inspections get dropped. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you picked a closing date. No, I don't want your washer and dryer anymore. It just favors you as a seller at that point. Approaching a listing and saying, I'm going to list it high because I can always come down is going to cost you money. It's going to hurt you. Those days on market are going to grow. Buyers are going to gain leverage. You might have lost your buyer. A lot of times the most interested buyers are the first people through the door. They make the effort to get in there first because they're ready to go.
Yeah.
They might have been looking for months, and if they step in and you've priced a cushion in because you expect a low offer that you're going to negotiate to, doesn't happen.
No. Not going to happen. Right on. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so right now, our real estate market, what are you telling people about it?
It's nuts. It's crazy. And I've been saying this for a year now. We sat last year at our awards banquet for the company end of January, and we could see it coming then. I'm very analytical. I track the inventories. I track absorption rates, the rates homes are selling across the entire market, across all these different price ranges, because what you see at 200,000 isn't the same market you see at 400,000. And we track it all. I've got a big board sits right behind my desk. Anybody can come and look at it anytime. We update it every Monday. And it's very simple marketing and economics. It's all supply and demand. And our supply is so low that I can't even predict what it's going to cost to the next year to 2 to 3 years, in the market. You still have to have buyers that are willing to pay prices, but we've talked about it. What I see happening is some of the greatest appreciation our local market has possibly ever seen in the next year to 2 years. And then we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect storm for that. Interest rates are unbelievably low.
Crazy. Giving away money. They're almost paying you to take their money.
Exactly. Free money, right? It's free money.
Yeah.
Which sounds silly, but when you can get an interest rate on a 30-year fixed at 2.25, 2.375, 2.5, those are numbers we thought we'd never see. You want to know how low that is? Calculate it at 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, and just look at what it does to you and what it makes you afford or allows you to afford. So interest rates are driving it. Low inventory is driving it. I think society has a different philosophy as well of, what they're going to spend and, what type of property is going to make them happy. I don't see people staying in their forever home, as the first house they bought anymore. Growing up in a small town, I'm sure the same way. It's like, that's always the Joneses' house.
Yeah.
And that's always the Campbell's house. And that's always so-and-so's house. People didn't hop around, and move up. But now that's what you see. It's like, okay, house 2, house 3, house 4. Now I'm good. Now we're in our forever home.
Yes.
So I feel like we see a perfect storm of building costs have risen so dramatically. It's keeping inventory low. This area does not have overbuilding. This area does not have a bunch of foreclosures. There are not these market stabilizers that are going to keep that appreciation down. So if you're looking, this is some of the best advice I can give to a homeowner, a buyer right now. If you're thinking about buying in a year or 2 years, if you can do it now, find a way to do it now. because that same house in a year from now could cost you 25% more. Do I think it's going to appreciate 25%? No. But we're sitting at 2.5% interest. It's not unrealistic to be at 4% next year. Every percent in interest is 10% in purchase price. So if we're at 2.5 and you're at 4, you just cost yourself 15% on that exact same house. You're buying a $200,000 house. The house now is $230,000.
Yeah, and that doesn't account for any appreciation.
And then
by the
you
market.
tack your appreciation on. If we see 5, 10, 15% appreciation, that $200,000 house today is going to be $250,000 next year. You can't save money fast enough to get ahead of that. So if you can get it done, do it now. Don't. And it's not always great because it's people trying to be responsible. I'm going to save. I'm going to pay down debt. I'm going to get myself in a better situation, but they end up costing themselves money. And they're not happy then. So you know what happens then is they go to search in a year and they say, okay, we want to buy that $200,000 house. Looks a lot different.
It looks a lot different.
You know, that $200,000 house a year from now might be what they were looking at, seeing for $150,000 last year that they didn't want because it's not an upgrade. So if you are thinking about buying, moving up, do it now. Do it now. Find a way.
Find a way.
Responsibly. Find a way.
Find a way. Yeah. There is a way for many, many people. Find a way to get it done. I've been working with some buyers now, kind of off and on for a couple of them for 6 months, and the market feels different for them. Like we go into a house that, would have been priced 10, 15 grand lower 6 months ago, maybe. And, it leaves these buyers frustrated. Like, oh, how long are we going to keep looking for houses? None of these are starting to fit my criteria. And, that's a tough place to be as a buyer.
It is, and it's going to change rapidly. When it starts changing, it's going to change. You're going to see these changes. And it's not like there's a flag or a notice like, hey, the market just went up 10%. It's going to leave people behind is what's going to happen. It's going to change. And it's difficult, even as a realtor, pricing houses.
It is.
And I feel like I got a great handle on it. And, we as a company have a great handle on it. But there's times, and it's happened a lot of last year, where you'll go to price a house and there's no historical data that will justify what that house sells for.
Yeah.
And I've been burned by it a couple of times where I'll sit there and I'll hold true to my numbers with a seller, and they'll choose the agent that's willing to go higher, and then it sells.
Yeah.
That's my issue, not theirs.
Yeah.
It's like I could not predict that appreciation. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
The market's ahead of you.
Happened to me this year. I kicked myself for it. We talked about it. Because if you look at the last, like normally what we're looking at is, the comps. We're looking to, when we're trying to find a price, we're trying to look at the comps. We're trying to find 3 or 4 or 5 recently sold houses that are similar to this one. We're going to price it around that. Well, if that house sold 6 months ago, we're in a different market. It's crazy. And, if you tell the seller like, hey, here's what I think your house is worth, and it's actually worth more, and they, another agent can sell it for more, that's tough.
There's not enough attention, and there's not enough press locally, statewide, nationally on building costs. My personal belief is this is mostly being driven by building costs. The inventories, the appreciation, all of it. And I learned this a little bit through when we were working on the development at South Point, is we started tracking new construction permits pulled. And we went back all the way from 2010, 2011, 2013, and worked our way to present time. And I should have brought the numbers with me, but it was staggering, absolutely staggering to look at the drop in permits pulled. And again, you want to talk about a perfect storm of land costs took a huge jump the last 10 to 15 years. So if you started development in the 2005, that development should be kind of nearing an end now. Pricing what they have into the infrastructure compared to what it would cost now to start a development it's crazy, the difference in cost between what's required and land costs and everything. The building costs have risen through all of that. So when I got in real estate in 2008, the first new construction standalone house that I sold was out on Bryn in Piasta. $178,000.
Wow.
3-bed, 2-bath walkout ranch with a 2-car garage. Those houses now, 12, 13 years later, I saw they're selling over $300,000 now. That was the entry-level new construction at that time. There was new construction at 175, at 200. Then all of a sudden that was at 225. That was at 250. So if you walk in now and say, I want entry-level new construction, standalone residential house, what are you getting? You're probably over 3. We're closing on one soon, split foyer, 295. I remember a time where if a split foyer sold over 200,000, somebody was crazy. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You're never going to get that money back out of it.
Right.
Now that's your entry level. All other entry level, new constructions, most of it's over 3.
Yeah.
A lot of it's over 4 into the 5s and 6s. So you take that out of, there's definitely nothing under 200,000. Now there's no new construction under 300,000. All those existing houses have so much more pent up demand. If you look at the number of buyers in a price range and the number of listings that typically sell, and you take all that new construction out of there, that's what's driving that appreciation. And you just don't hear much about those building costs that driving that. And that's what's driving this low inventory. There's less spec houses. There's just less building, period. There's less permits pulled. And that's where that inventory is going to have a difficult time rebounding.
Yeah.
And it's going to just drive that demand.
When I was out in Colorado this summer, getting married, went to a Ninja Day. Larry was speaking. He talked about nationwide, we are, by the numbers, he had the stats. I can't remember the numbers, but he said nationwide, we are 6 years behind on like the rate that we have new construction being built. We're building it. We're 6 years behind inventory, and the gap is getting bigger. The demand is keep rising, but we're falling farther and farther behind as far as new builds to sustain the population and the demand for housing.
Some of that still comes back on 2008, because Dubuque did not feel it, but a lot of markets did, of overbuilding. And if a builder's got 20 spec houses sitting there, new construction, if they're a massive builder and all of a sudden the market crashes, in some areas like it crashed in 08, and you're sitting there with 20 houses that you can't sell, that's what stagnates us moving forward, because now the next time around that builder's maybe not as apt to do 20 houses. And the banks aren't as apt to loan them and just let them go wild. There's tighter lending restrictions and more conservative banking, and you just have less people that are willing to extend themselves that point. And then, like you said, that gap of construction to need just keeps growing.
Good stuff. We could talk all day long. I know you're a busy, busy man. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Let's rock into these closing questions. What is your favorite book?
Full disclosure, I'm not a big reader.
Oh, man.
I'm not.
I don't like you anymore.
I know. I listen to you, the pizza guy, Houlihan, talk about all these books you read, and, I'm not. One of my favorite books, and again, impactful, is going back to Nietzsche's The Go-Giver. That was, again, very simple philosophy, really hit home, very similar to The Secret, treat people well. Be nice to people, treat people the way you would want to be treated. So that's one. Other than that, as we joked, I would probably drop back to my, my youthful days of my favorite book's probably still Where the Red Fern Grows, which
good stuff.
My 8-year-old and I read together last year, and I loved it. And we're on one of my second favorite books is The Hatchet, back in my Gary Paulson days. So.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, I read both of those as a kid. Those were good.
So
good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Wait, so if you don't read, so big part of me, I read a lot. I take in a lot of content through reading. I try to read real estate books, business books, money books, self-help, whatever. What kind of content do you take in, or do you take in?
I take in content all the time, but you got to remember, Rob, how many kids do you have?
I have 0 kids.
0 kids. I have 4 kids. I get more content sometimes than I need. Pizza Guy and I were just talking about this morning, because he's a big reader, and he's not. He's not a big reader. He listens to it.
Big audio guy, yeah.
So,
was he in the office this morning?
No, I went and saw him. So, content wise, that's a good question. And I observe a lot. I take notice of what people around me are doing in the market, in the company. I have philosophies and I kind of stick to them, and then I try to improve them.
That's good.
So, we were talking about, some of the questions I had for you on reading is you read all these different books and you read all these different authors and philosophies, and there's a lot of it's got to be contradicting each other.
Totally.
And they could both be right.
Yeah.
You got to find your niche for you. So
yeah, we talked about shiny object syndrome. I had a terrible case of shiny object syndrome early in the Realtor days. But yeah, if you read, like if I read 5 books, they might all have a little something different to them, and I might only pick one of them to be my, this is the one that's my philosophy.
Exactly.
But I can't read 20, 30, 40 books in a year and think like I'm going to adopt every part of every one of these books. I'm not going to do it.
And I'm not influential that way. I'm just not, some of that's stubborn.
Yeah.
Like I've got my way, I'm going to do it my way.
But that's, you know yourself. You got to know yourself.
Very much so. Yeah. And know what you are good at, and, know what you're not good at. And that's something I feel like is my strength. Like I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. And, the philosophy, coming to Ruhl, and we haven't talked much about it, but I'm a huge believer in real estate investing. Do it myself.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk. You're going to have to come on again. We'll talk about investing.
We'll do that next time. But there's 2 very different philosophies of investing of I'm going to buy and get rid of the debt as fast as possible. Just pay it down and try to own free and clear. And then there's the other side of it of I'm going to build my portfolio through my investments, and I'm going to leverage, and I'm going to extend, and I don't want to say stretch, but I'm not focusing on paying it. So there's 2 different philosophies.
Yeah.
And I'm very strongly one way.
One way, you might be strongly this way, and utilizing the debt. Somebody else might pay everything down. Works for them just as well. But as long as you know which one is your fit, that's good. I was talking with Carl this morning in the locker room at the gym. I don't see him there every time, but he said he rides right down the middle. Like, so if he's going to roll into a new investment, he'll use for half the down payment, he'll use equity. Half the down payment, he'll bring cash. He said he just kind of rides in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you gotta figure out who you are by making mistakes. Yeah. Or just kind of find your way of how you're going to make it work. And a lot of times that's how I approach. I'm very much shoot from the hip. I've learned through mistakes, and just try to, adjust and keep moving forward.
Speaking of shoot from the hip, what are your hobbies?
I love hunting, and it's funny because I tell people in the office that, and there's several agents who are like, I don't see you as a hunter. And I'm kind of offended by it. Like,
you got a beard.
What do you mean? Exactly. What do you mean?
Beard.
Like, where do you want to go? Like, let's do it. You want me to shoot something? I'll shoot something. So, no, I love hunting, love deer hunting. I grew up huge into pheasant hunting.
08 was tough on them. Or was it 12?
The
freeze.
All the 2000s. Yeah. 08. It was 07, 08 was, horrible. All the 2000s. I mean, I grew up in, some of the best pheasant hunting in the nation, and that's what I live for. Sports has always been huge for me. Growing up through, playing, watching, huge Hawkeye fan. I've always loved baseball, love football. I'm a Twins, Vikings fan. Probably newer to hobbies is country music. My wife's a big, country music fan, and it's something that we've kind of connected on together.
Concerts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things I missed last year.
Oh, for sure.
No concerts.
Yeah. We had, we were going to Minneapolis in May, see Kenny Chesney, Florida Georgia Line. This is going to be a great one.
Oh,
We're going on her birthday in July, see Luke Bryan in Nashville.
Dang.
Some other little ones. So, yeah, we're definitely experiencing concert withdrawal. We've started trying to book some. But that was something I want to say growing up through my 20s, like I would never spend money on a concert. Like, turn on the radio. We were just talking about it last week. Like, I was not I was not a music person. Like, I knew if a song came on, I knew if I liked it or not, but I couldn't tell you who sang it. Probably didn't know the name of the song, but so yeah, it's something that's I've kind of changed, and I love it.
You've been to Jones County Fair?
I have, yeah.
It's like an experience.
It is, yeah.
It's fun.
And I enjoy it, but going to a concert, standalone concert. We went to Jason Aldean last year in February, and not so sure that we didn't bring COVID home with us after it, but it was awesome. I mean, it was down in Quad Cities, and we loved it. Had a great time. My 40th birthday present from her was to go to CMA Fest in Nashville. Not this year, but the previous year, and it was amazing.
Oof.
Absolutely amazing.
I haven't been to Nashville yet.
Oh,
I'll have to go.
It's awesome.
All right, we've probably discussed a lot about this one, but here it is. If you had to point to the one thing that you either learned, developed, or were just born with that makes you successful, what would that be?
That is a good question. I would say work ethic, drive, and somewhat born with it, somewhat learned also. My parents are amazing hard workers. Set a great example. Learned so much from just seeing that. So there's a drive, and it's competitiveness, and along with hard work, so you combine that, and we talked about it, and I know the pizza guy mentioned it too. Sometimes you just make it work. You just got to find a way. You don't let it fail. You just have to find a way, and that's the way I approached real estate. Is I was just going to work harder than everyone else, or at least hard enough that I was going to be successful. And it's something I still stand by. I love what I do, so while I'm working hard, I enjoy it. But it's drive. That's it's drive, it's competitiveness, it's hard work. It's that combination of all of those.
No gimmicks.
No gimmicks.
Nothing
no tricks.
Special.
Simple.
Yeah. All right. Who is someone you're wanting to meet? Anyone. If you can meet anyone.
Oh boy.
They got to be alive.
Kirk Ferentz. I would love to spend time. I would love to shadow him for
That'd be
a
so
while.
cool.
It would be. That whole experience, I think, a lot's happened in the last year, but I think he just does a phenomenal job.
I think so too.
I respect him. I think he runs a quality program, and he's just somebody I would love to just be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And sit down and have a candid conversation and
just
follow him around for a while.
He'd be good. It's like, and he's almost like, he kind of embraces that, just like he shows up and he just gets it done, and it's not flashy. It's not fancy. It's not attractive to maybe these big 5-star recruits out of Los Angeles or wherever. But he just gets it done. And I really like that Iowa has the identity of developing their players.
Yeah, very workmanlike.
Taking these 3 stars and turn them into 5-star or whatever,
Yeah, but I love the fire.
Yeah.
Probably not giving enough credit for his fire. And then emotion, to see the emotion. It just, I think it hits home. So.
That'd be a good one. Okay, so this is, I'm curious on this one. 2021, new year. What are you currently focusing on for this year? And how can listeners help you if they
buy
can?
some homes? No, our focus my team's focus. We have a subdivision, South Point subdivision, that we've been from the infant stages to now on. COVID hit us at a terrible time. We had a great year as a team in real estate, but new construction, I feel like really suffered. It's a fantastic community. Half of that is a condo, villa, townhouse that really is, I don't want to pigeonhole it to an older community, but that's what we've gotten so far. So my focus is on how to snowball that subdivision, how to get those sales going, get the momentum going, get the building going up against what we're facing with building costs. That's the struggle that I face, that we've struggled with for the last couple of years. And then COVID, I feel like really had an impact on some of those sales and some of that demographic, because a lot of our target market was the individuals that were at most risk. So that, still doing a good job for our clients, not losing sight of what's important, sometimes just refocusing that, but just trying to keep things moving forward.
Yeah. In South Point, in an ideal world, it would grow and there'd be a lot of custom builds on the lots out there.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. There's a couple specs out there still for sale.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a really good year this year. We were caught, what I talked about earlier, of if you looked at what has to go into an infrastructure in development of, let's say, Timberhurst or Clay Ridge, Clay Hill, some of the popular ones here, those were started in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. If you look at those land cost, acquisition costs, it might be at 50%, 25% of the land cost of South Point. Something that I learned through this development was there's a term called SUDAS, and I can't even tell you what it stands for, but it's basically the regulations that will dictate the specs of the development. Things like the size of the cul-de-sac. Our cul-de-sac size almost doubled from a cul-de-sac of a development that was built 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So that cost, drives it up.
Yeah.
Something that you just would never think of, the fill that goes under the utilities or under the street has to be a special fill. So there's all of these new things that are dictated through SUDAS and there, other agencies that have driven up those costs. So we were really caught in trying to compete with, subdivisions and lot sales that were started 5, 10, 15 years ago that might be able to sell their lots at 25% less because they don't have the investment or have not been required to make the investment that we have on top of the lack of already established houses, and then the building costs went up. So there's some hurdles that we've had to face. So now it's starting to overcome that, but I feel like this is the year where we'll really take off.
That's good. Let's help them out, listeners. See what we can do.
Come on out.
What do you believe separates successful real estate investors from those who give up or fail or never get started?
Getting started is the biggest hurdle. That first one. Told you the same thing how many months ago. Just get yourself started. Get that first one. Find a way to get that first one. Have a plan and rely on people who've done it, to find out what were their mistakes. What do you need to know? Don't give up on investing because you have one poor experience. Stick with it. Obviously I'm in real estate, but I think it's a phenomenal investment. I would not be in real estate today. I could not have left Loris, could not have left a salary job if I did not have investment properties that helped float my bills when I made that transition. Never would have been here. So stick with it. Ask for help. As an investor, connect with a realtor. They can be your best ally when it comes to investing in real estate because they know of a lot of stuff that comes on the market before you will ever know about it. They have contacts with handymen, contractors, service technicians. They can help ease your process as well. So, stick it out. Don't give up. Have a plan. Stick to your plan. Be intelligent about what you're going to buy. We talked about stick to what you know. I think there's a lot of things I look at a business and say, oh, that'd be awesome to buy that and try to improve it. It's like, well, I don't know anything about the bar business or the restaurant business, or I have got a marina for sale up in McGregor. Like, I don't know anything about the marina business. So probably not the best for me to buy a marina.
Yeah.
So
I like it. That's good. I am going to give you a shout out here. You reminded me, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout this out. I've always been interested in investing, even before I became a realtor. I came over to Ruhl Ruhl. I've always just like, yep, I'll invest in real estate someday. I'm just learning right now. I'm trying to save some money. I'll invest in real estate. I know that's part of my future. I really believe in it, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the very first time we met to talk about our goals, you saw that I wanted to invest in real estate and you said, what's your plan? It was that simple. I was like, well, I don't really have a plan to get my first one, but I'm trying to save money. You're like, no, get a plan. Get the first one. Find a way. I was like, well, okay, we'll see. I don't really have any money. And found a way to get it done.
Not always important.
Yeah, not always important. True. Money is only a third of the problem. You got to have the deal. You got to have the boots on the ground and the hustle, and you got to have the money. So, you got to find a way to get it done. And shout out to you for pushing me to get that done. 2020, got my first investment, and I was low on money. So what do? I go find an $18,000 property. Boom,
yeah.
Fixes it.
That's right.
So, shout out to you getting my real estate investments rolling. I would have never got it started. I probably still would be sitting here today thinking, someday I'll invest. Someday I will. So I appreciate you pushing me to do that.
First one can be the toughest one, just pulling that trigger.
Yeah.
It's scary. A lot of people, it's very scary.
Definitely. Okay, last one. What's your pet peeve?
Oh. Just in general pet peeve.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it to individuals. One of them, this is kind of a goofy one, but people with shopping carts. I feel like people with shopping carts lose all awareness of their surroundings. So I go to Walmart, I go to Target. Yeah, this is one that just pops in my mind. Is I can't take it. They just lose track of all of their awareness and all their surrounding. So I struggle with that. That's a goofy one.
I don't think I ever would have guessed that one.
No, you probably would not have.
What are some other ones?
God, that's good. I should have done my homework on the pet peeve one, because all I think of.
Yeah, I actually, my buddy was curious to hear what your pet peeve was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just curious. Which buddy?
Just my buddy Joe, who him and I are partnering on a deal now here in Dubuque.
Oh, sure. Something that bothers me, pet peeve, is lack of logistics in general from people. Like that put no strategy, no thought into. I don't even have we talked about one time, and not throwing my wife under the bus, but is people in the office, my team. We talked about like, how do you approach a load of laundry? Do you just grab random stuff and you throw it in, or do you wash all the towels together and then wash the big, so lack of logistical or lack of thought process just drives me absolutely crazy.
How do you do the laundry?
I approach it with strategy.
How do you do it?
Like everything strategy. Number one, you get the towels out of the way. Number one, they're easy to fold. They're big, they're bulky, so if you've got a mountain of laundry, like you feel better about yourself after you get the towels out of the way.
I like it.
And then with 4 kids,
is this folding or is this washing?
Well, it all comes hand in hand, right?
Okay.
Washing is the easy part. Folding,
I agree.
And I'm saying this now, where I love my wife. She does almost all of our laundry at all times. So I thought one time I was just going to help her. It didn't go so well, So
this is great.
Yeah. So
this is the content the listeners needed.
She was sick last year, and when I would swear on my deathbed she probably had COVID. She was sick, so I had to take over the single parenting role. And I'm like, all right, we got 4 kids. I don't know where the laundry comes from, but it
never ends
fast.
It never ends.
But you approach it with a strategy, So then I got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to wash whoever's clothes here, I'm going to wash it together, so I don't have to sort it after. So see, you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about how you approach it.
Having some intention to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the towels first, I like that. I too when I'm talking folding, like if I got a huge pile of laundry, it's all mixed together, all colors, all everything, I'm going for the big stuff first. Like I want to fold the big, heavy sweatshirts, the
jeans.
It creates a snowball, and then you just rock and roll.
And you're left with the underwear and the socks, right?
Yeah, it's just that's exactly right. And it's just the pile gets smaller, and love it. That's what we really needed to end on right there. That was it.
Yeah. Next time I'll think of more pet peeves. I'll come up with something good.
There we go.
I have plenty. I'm sure I have plenty.
Yeah, and folks, listeners, we had probably 8 things here to talk about that we didn't even get to. We went for more of the depth than the breadth, which is really how I like to do it. So we'll have to do it again.
I'm going to stop you. I got another one. Tardiness, being late.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a biggie. I can't believe I didn't think about that first. I'm an typically early person.
I did notice you show up early here. That was good.
And frankly, I thought I was not early enough. So I would.
What's early to you? You got a 9:00 meeting.
I'm teaching my kids already. Like if you're on time, you're late.
Like it.
If you're early, you're on time. So you got a 9:00 meeting. Who am I meeting with is the question.
Ooh.
A listing appointment. I'm probably going to be there 10, 15 minutes early. I might sit outside. Like I'm not going to knock on the door, and that comes from my family. I feel like as a family we're early.
Yeah.
It caused me anxiety to be late. I don't like being late.
I hate being late too.
I don't want to be disrespectful to other people's time.
Yes.
And we all know those families we grew up with that the whole family's late.
Yes.
And those realtors, it's like, okay, this realtor is going to be late. Mm-hmm. It's no surprise if they show up late to anything that you need them for. So,
yeah.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
That's another really good one.
Yep. Those agents that can't make the meetings on time. I could call a few out right now.
We could. We'll probably skip that part. But in all reality, do you know who Ed Milet is?
No.
Ed Milet.
Is he an author?
He's an author, entrepreneur, podcaster, influencer. His net worth is $400 million. Nice. Big time.
Doing okay.
He lives out in California, but I follow him on social media, and he's really active on it. Like he'll get on and he'll be like, "Hey, here's what I'm doing today." Just 2 days ago, three or 4 days ago, maybe. He was like, "Hey guys, starting the year out with a bang. I'm gonna go see if I can get some deals done right here, first week of January. I'm freaking excited," or something like that. And he comes on later. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to look at this house, $20 million, something like that. I'll get some videos if I can. I don't know if I can yet. I'm going to talk to the agent." I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Like, I'm excited, He comes on after the showing, and he says, "Yep, couldn't get any videos in there. The agent showed up 45 minutes late. He had no explanation for why he was late, so I'm just not going to do business with him. Yeah, that's kind of frustrating, but I guess we'll go see some other houses." And
that's awesome.
That agent shows up 45 minutes late to that type of showing.
Yeah.
I hope that agent had something real important that they missed.
You hope, but there's those people that they're just in, and hey, maybe that's the way to live. I don't know. I can't do it, but yeah.
Being early too, you have time to get your emotions right, set your intentions, and to really think about how you want the meeting to go, and just kind of settle yourself.
Yeah.
Versus like if you show up, put it in park and run in there. Like, that's, I need to get better at that too. And I'm late sometimes.
My wife has taught me that sometimes being too early also is not a good thing. So I try to control that as well.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like being late. I don't like waiting on people either.
Yeah, that's another one. I need to work on it. I do. See, I grew up in a family that was always late, and so I'm aware. Like
conscious of it.
My conscious of it is like top notch. So that's where to start. Like you just got to start with some sort of awareness and get better at it.
All right, I'll try to help you with that.
Good stuff. All right, we are gonna wrap this one up. Just an absolute legend today. Tons and tons of value on this one. Can't wait to re-listen to this one and share it with you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As far as contact information, if you type in Aaron Healey into Google, you'll find his website, and his phone number and email are on there somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't miss him. Aaron Healey, Dubuque, Aaron Healey, Realtor. Can't miss him. So shout him out. If you have any questions, he's an open book.
Open book.
Open book. Wow. Here we go. Sharing all that value on the podcast. Really appreciate you being on today, Aaron, and looking forward to another one and an awesome 2021. So with that, we will wrap it up, and until next week.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Real Estate in the Tri-State. We want to encourage all of our listeners to send in any and all real estate questions to us at rottlerpodcast@gmail.com. More details in our show notes.
And as always, let's have a great day, folks.